So you want to get started creating, recording, and producing music at home, but your skill level is here.
Computer, where is the record button? Computer, why isn't anything working? Can you help me? Can you help me? Why is nothing working, computer?
And you really want to be here.
Computer, play my awesome track.
You know, most people hate to hear that growing your skills to become a pro at anything takes a lot of time and a lot of hard work. They hate to hear it because it's the truth. What if I told you there was a way to accelerate that learning process, and instead of taking years to learn your desired skill level, it would only take you months, just by changing the way you think about approaching a new skill like music production? In this video, I'm going to share with you 3 guidelines that, if you choose to follow, will jumpstart the learning process and bring you closer to your goals a whole lot faster. So let's get started. Cue the intro. Welcome to episode 2 of this brand new channel called the Mattman Studio. My name is Matthew, aka
Mattman.
And I'm here to help guide you through your beginning stages of music production with tips, tricks, and tutorials. And if you're just starting from scratch, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can receive free information about all things music production, from creation to post-production. But before we start getting into the nitty-gritty, watch this video first, because if you start following these 3 guidelines I'm about to share with you, you will start seeing results very quickly. So finally, without further ado, guideline number 1, always have a long-term learning mindset. We have all been there. You finally have all the equipment you need to getting started creating and producing music. You're excited. I'm excited for you. You then sit at your desk, turn on your computer, and then open the DAW or music software that you just downloaded, and then you finally plug in your audio interface, and then bam, it happens. Or nothing happens. It's not recording. Nothing's working. The music software looks complicated and overwhelming. And you cannot find the plugin you just purchased and spent a ton of money on. You're now getting frustrated and disappointed. And then you go back to doing something you already know how to do, like playing a guitar, singing a melody, or messing around on your instruments. That's all great, and you should still be doing those things, but don't let this huge learning curve stop you from creating and producing music. All that's doing is delaying your talent that God has given you to be able to affect other people's lives. Take the time to learn your equipment and software. It's a lot easier than you realize. It's definitely worth the effort. Even the masters at music production will still have something they think is complicated and overwhelming, and they're still willing to learn and overcome that. It's because they have a long-term learning mindset of getting better, striving to become a master at their craft. always having a learning mindset only pushes you forward in the learning process, making you better, getting you closer not just to the goals that you have set as a music producer, but goals you have set in your personal life. Have a learning mindset. Now, if you don't know what equipment you need to get started producing music, then you should check out this video somewhere around here that lists the items you're going to need to build your very first home recording studio so you can get started learning and creating as soon as possible. This brings us to guideline number 2. Know your strengths. If you're just getting started producing music and do not know what your strengths are, all you're doing is sabotaging yourself and setting yourself up for failure. Now, I'm not saying that failing is bad. We're all going to fail at something at some point. And failure is just an obstacle that usually leads to overcoming and getting better. What I am saying is that sabotaging yourself is something that we can avoid altogether. When you first start creating and producing music, it's easy to just jump right in and start using plugins or software you're not familiar with, thinking that you're just going to create some awesome, unique sound to start off your first epic single or your first song. Now, I wish it was that easy, and some of you out there might pull it off just because of raw talent. But my advice to you is to start with your strengths. If you know what your strengths are, creating music becomes a whole lot easier. So, what are your strengths? Are you good at playing guitar? What about drums, piano, bass, or any other instrument? Can you sing? When you first start creating a song on a DAW or recording software, your mind quickly becomes blank, and you start fiddling around with plugins to try to spark some creativity. So instead of doing all that, why not just start with your strengths? So what I usually do is using my strength, which is playing guitar. I would typically start playing some chord progression or messing around with some melodies while jamming out to a drum loop until I found something unique and inspiring that's worthy of being recorded. And whatever that inspiring chord progression or melody was, I would then find out the tempo, set up the click track in the DAW or recording software, and then record a few cycles of that inspiring chord progression or melody. This would then lay down the foundation of the song that I'm about to create, making it easier to find a specific sound, add layers, and generally know what arrangement I'm thinking about going with. Now I have saved time and inspired more creativity, making it easier. So I strongly suggest that if you find out what your strengths are, you might already know your strengths. Just use that to your advantage and lay down a foundation that makes it easier for yourself for your first recording projects. Know your strengths. Now, if you do know what your strengths are, let me know what you would record first. What is your talent? I'm actually very excited to know. Let me know in the comment section below. So, guideline number 3. This is last, but it's not least. Finish what you started. Now, out of the 3, I believe this one is probably the most important and hardest to achieve. Not just with music production, but in life in general. I'm still struggling with this one. When we first start music production, we all think that our first project is going to be amazing and perfect. Come to find out, it is not. It's definitely not. Typically, your first projects are going to be absolutely terrible, or you just believe they're absolutely terrible. You are your own worst critic. And because you believe your project is terrible, you tend to not finish the project or procrastinate. Or you just keep starting new projects and never finishing them because they're not perfect enough. You're always tweaking on something. And then you're in the cycle of never finishing anything. What this is doing is depriving yourself from learning a certain thing from that specific project if you had finished the whole thing. Finishing what you started pushes you forward in the learning process and allows you to analyze what you just created so that you can do a better job for the next project. And then with each project you complete, you become more skilled, better equipped, and closer to becoming a master at your craft. It also brings you a sense of accomplishment, which is mentally rewarding and boosts confidence in yourself. Finish what you started, even if you think it sounds terrible. Don't deprive yourself from getting better and reaching the goals you have set. Finish what you started. All right, so let's recap. I just shared with you 3 guidelines that will help accelerate your growth so you can see results a whole lot faster. Guideline number 1, always have a long-term learning mindset. If you stop learning, you stop growing. Guideline number 2, know your strengths. Lay down a foundation with what you're good at and then build from there. It makes it a whole lot easier. Guideline number 3, finish what you started. I think this one is the most important. It gets you closer to reaching your goals. It helps you become more skilled and then boosts confidence in yourself. Now, these guidelines are not new, but are extremely important if you want to see results quickly. Now, it doesn't matter if you're a hobbyist or if you want to become a professional. When you follow these guidelines, you will become successful and accomplish every goal that you have set for yourself. So let me ask you this question. Which guideline do you think is most important to you? Please let me know in the comment section below. I'll also answer any questions that you may have. I want to thank you for watching. Please be on the lookout for episode 3 as we get more in depth in all things music production with more tips, tricks, and tutorials. Thank you again. This was the Matt Man Studio, and I'll see you next time.